Ready for a deep dive into something that could, like, radically change your life?
I'm always up for a good deep dive, but what are we diving into today?
We're talking sleep.
Sleep.
But not just like the cozy drifting off, kind of
Right.
the science-backed, kind of awe-inspiring kind of.
Okay.
We are going deep with Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep.
Ah, yes, a classic.
Yeah.
Walker really lays out the case for why sleep is so much more than just, simply rest.
Exactly. His central premise is that sleep is a biological necessity. It's right up there with eating and breathing.
Yeah.
And it affects every single aspect of our well-being.
It's true. It's a powerful argument, and I think it's one that everyone needs to hear.
So for this deep dive, we're going to extract the most fascinating and actionable insights from the book. The kind of stuff that will make you rethink your relationship with sleep.
Okay.
And trust me, there's some real eye-openers in here.
I'm ready to be amazed.
Okay, well, first up, we've got to address the elephant in the room, or rather the sleep-deprived zombie in the room.
Okay.
We're talking about the shocking truth about sleep deprivation.
Yeah, Walker doesn't hold back in Chapter 1.
Right.
He paints a pretty stark picture of what happens when we don't get enough sleep.
It's way more serious than just feeling a little groggy.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about a weakened immune system, an increased risk of cancer, Alzheimer's, blood sugar disruptions.
And it doesn't stop there. Cardiovascular disease, mental health issues, even our ability to make sound decisions.
All compromised when we're sleep deprived. It's scary stuff.
It is.
But what really hit home for me was Walker's point about drowsy driving being even more dangerous than drunk driving.
That's right. He explains that drowsy drivers often don't react at all
Wow.
when something unexpected happens, while drunk drivers might still have some, delayed reaction time.
It's a chilling thought. It really underscores the importance of prioritizing sleep, not just for our own well-being, but for the safety of others.
Absolutely. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. For a long time, scientists were searching for the reason we sleep,
Right.
assuming there had to be a single unifying function. But as Walker reveals, it's so much more complex than that.
It's not a single function. It's a whole symphony of benefits.
I love that analogy.
Right?
It perfectly captures the intricate and multifaceted nature of sleep.
So let's explore some of those amazing things our brains and bodies are doing while we sleep.
Well, one of the biggest misconceptions is that sleep is a passive state, but it's actually a period of intense activity for both the brain and the body.
So it's not downtime.
It's not downtime, it's prime time.
It's go time.
It's go time for a whole host of essential processes.
Give us the highlights.
Yeah.
What are some of the key benefits of sleep that Walker explores?
Okay, sleep is crucial for learning and memory consolidation.
Okay.
It helps us regulate our emotions and build resilience. It plays a key role in physical repair and restoration, and even fosters creativity and problem solving.
Okay, so our brains are basically working overtime while we're catching those Z's.
Yes, they are.
But how does our body know when it's time to switch into sleep mode?
That's where our internal clock or circadian rhythm comes into play.
I've heard of the circadian rhythm, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
Think of it like an internal timer that regulates our sleep-wake cycle. It's influenced by light and darkness, which is why we naturally feel tired at night and alert during the day.
So that's why it's so hard to fall asleep after staring at your phone right before bed.
Exactly. The blue light emitted from electronic devices suppresses the production of melatonin. A key hormone that helps regulate sleepwalker provides some fascinating examples of how this internal clock works. In Chapter 2, he talks about the Mimosa pudica plant,
Okay.
which has sleeping leaves that fold up at night and open again in the morning, just like clockwork.
Wait, plants have a circadian rhythm too.
Apparently so. And there's the famous Mammoth Cave experiment,
Okay.
where researchers lived in total darkness for weeks to study the effects on their sleep-wake cycles.
What did they discover? Did their sleep patterns go completely haywire?
Interestingly enough, they found that even without external cues like sunlight, our bodies still operate on roughly a 24-hour cycle.
That's pretty incredible. So even if we were living in a cave, we'd still have a natural sleep-wake cycle.
That's what the research suggests. But it's not just the circadian rhythm that governs our sleep. There's another force at play.
Okay.
And it has to do with a molecule called adenosine.
Adenosine, I'm not familiar with that
When
one.
we go about our day using energy, engaging in various activities, adenosine builds up in our brains. Think of it like a byproduct of all that brain power.
So the more we use our brains, the more adenosine we accumulate.
Exactly. And as adenosine levels rise, it creates what Walker calls sleep pressure,
Okay.
that irresistible urge to hit the hay.
So that feeling of being completely wiped out after a long, mentally taxing day, that's adenosine at work.
You got it. And the longer you're awake, the more adenosine builds up and the stronger that sleep pressure becomes.
It's like our brains are slowly running out of fuel throughout the day, and sleep is the way to refuel.
That's a great analogy. And here's where it gets really interesting. Adenosine and the circadian rhythm actually work together to regulate sleepwalker. Uses some helpful figures in Chapter 2,
Okay.
specifically figures 4 and 6 to illustrate this interplay.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Walk us through it.
Imagine a graph with two lines.
Okay.
One represents the circadian rhythm, which has a natural peak of alertness in the morning and a dip in the afternoon. The other line represents adenosine, which steadily increases the longer you're awake.
Okay, I can picture it. So what happens is those two lines interact throughout the day.
As the day goes on, the adenosine line keeps rising, creating more and more sleep pressure. At the same time, the circadian rhythm line starts to dip in the afternoon, making us feel naturally less alert.
So that explains that post-lunch slump we all experience.
Precisely. It's your adenosine levels rising and your circadian rhythm taking a little siesta. Then, as evening approaches, the circadian rhythm line dips even further, signaling to the brain that it's time to wind down.
And I'm guessing that's when adenosine is at its peak, making us feel super tired and ready for bed.
Exactly. And when we finally surrender to sleep, the magic happens. Sleep essentially acts as a giant adenosine clearer.
So all that built-up sleep pressure gets washed away while we snooze.
Exactly. And by the time we wake up in the morning, our adenosine levels are back to baseline and our circadian rhythm is ready to give us that morning boost of energy.
Amazing. So we've covered when we sleep and why we sleep, but what actually happens inside our brains during sleep? Are we just off, or is there more to it?
Sleep isn't just one uniform state. It's actually a beautifully choreographed cycle of different stages, each with its own unique characteristics and benefits. Walker dives into this in Chapter 3.
Okay, spill the secrets. What are the key players in this sleep cycle?
The two main types of sleep are NREM and REM, which stands for non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement. They alternate throughout the night in roughly 90-minute cycles.
And what are the key differences between these two sleep stages?
Well, NREM is characterized by deep, slow brain waves and is associated with physical restoration and memory consolidation. It's that deep, restorative sleep that we all crave.
So that's when our bodies are busy repairing and rebuilding.
Precisely. Then there's REM sleep, which is when we experience those vivid, often bizarre dreams. It plays a crucial role in emotional processing, creativity, and even problem solving.
So it's like our brains are running a nightly theater production while we sleep, complete with special effects and plot twists.
That's a great way to put it, but here's a question. Is one type of sleep more important than the other?
That's a good question. They both sound pretty essential.
They are. While both NREM and REM are vital for overall well-being, Walker argues that NREM, and specifically deep sleep, is the true champion when it comes to certain cognitive functions like memory.
Interesting. So let's dive deeper into that. Tell us more about the incredible power of deep sleep and how it impacts our memory.
What's fascinating is that it's not just about passively storing memories during deep sleep.
Okay.
It's about actively enhancing and strengthening them.
So it's like our brains are running a nightly memory workout,
Yeah.
consolidating and reinforcing everything we've learned during the day.
Exactly. Walker describes some incredible experiments in chapters 6 and 7 that demonstrate this. One study found that taking a nap after learning something
Oh, wow.
actually boosted people's ability to learn even more later on.
So sneaking in a power nap is like a legitimate brain hack
Right.
for better learning. Okay, naps are good, but what about a full night of sleep? How does that impact our memory?
Walker explains that during deep sleep, the brain replays and consolidates memories, transferring them from short-term storage to long-term memory. It's like hitting save on all that important information.
So sleep is basically our brain's way of backing up its hard drive.
That's a good analogy.
Makes sense.
And it gets even more incredible.
Okay.
Scientists have discovered a technique called targeted memory reactivation, which involves playing specific sounds during sleep to enhance memories related to those sounds.
Wait, you're telling me I can study for a test and then listen to related sounds while I sleep to boost my recall? That sounds like science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? The research is still in its early stages, but the implications are pretty amazing. Imagine being able to selectively strengthen the memories you need most.
That would be a game changer.
Yes.
Okay, so deep sleep is clearly crucial for learning and memory. But what about REM sleep? What's going on in our brains during those crazy dream sequences?
REM sleep is where the magic of integration happens. While deep sleep strengthens memories, REM sleep helps connect those memories to our emotions and experiences, creating a more holistic understanding of the world.
So deep sleep lays the foundation, and REM sleep builds the house.
I like that analogy. And what's particularly fascinating is the role REM sleep plays in emotional healing and resilience. Walker cites some compelling research, like Rosalind Cartwright's work on breakups. She found that people who dream about their exes actually recover more quickly emotionally.
So processing our emotions in our dreams can actually help us heal. That's a powerful insight.
It is. And there's even research suggesting that REM sleep can reduce PTSD symptoms. Walker highlights the work of Dr. Murray Reskin, who used a blood pressure medication called prazosin to suppress noradrenaline, a stress hormone, during REM sleep in patients with PTSD.
What were the results of that?
The patients experienced a significant decrease in nightmares and overall PTSD symptoms.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like REM sleep can act as a nightly therapy session for our emotions, helping us process difficult experiences and build resilience.
Exactly. But REM sleep isn't just about emotional processing, it's also linked to creativity.
How does that work?
During REM sleep, our brains make unusual connections between seemingly unrelated ideas and experiences. It's like a brainstorming session on overdrive where the rules of logic and reality are temporarily suspended.
So that's why our dreams are often so strange and illogical.
Exactly. And those bizarre connections can actually lead to breakthroughs in creativity and problem solving.
Walker gives some great examples of this, like Dmitri Mendeleev, who supposedly came up with the periodic table of elements in a dream.
That's right. And then there's Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, who claims to have dreamt the iconic riff for I Can't Get No Satisfaction.
It's amazing to think that some of history's greatest creative leaps have happened while people were sleeping. So we've covered how sleep impacts our brains both cognitively and emotionally. But what about its effects on aging? Is there a connection there?
This is a really important topic because there's a common misconception that older adults need less sleep. But Walker sets the record straight in Chapter 5 that's absolutely wrong.
So no matter how old we get, we still need a full night of sleep.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, sleep often becomes more challenging with age. Walker outlines 3 key changes that happen to our sleep as we get older. First, there's a reduction in both the quantity and quality of sleep, especially deep sleep.
So we get less sleep, and the sleep we do get isn't as deep or restorative.
That's right. Second, sleep efficiency declines, meaning we spend more time in bed, awake, tossing and turning. And finally, the timing of sleep gets disrupted, leading to earlier bedtimes and waking up earlier.
That makes sense. It seems like every older person I know is up at the crack of dawn. But why are these changes so concerning?
Well, they're linked to a whole host of age-related health issues, including the alarming rise of Alzheimer's disease.
Really? What's the connection between sleep and Alzheimer's?
There's growing evidence that sleep disruptions actually precede the onset of Alzheimer's by several years. Walker discusses this in Chapter 7, highlighting research that shows a direct link between amyloid buildup in the brain, impaired deep sleep, and memory problems.
So a lack of sleep could actually contribute to the development of Alzheimer's.
That's what the research suggests. And it gets even more specific. Walker and his colleagues conducted a study where they had older adults with varying levels of amyloid in their brains learn a list of facts before bed.
And did they remember the information after a night of sleep?
What they found was a chain reaction. Those with the highest levels of amyloid, who also had the most severe deep sleep loss, performed the worst on the memory test the next morning. It suggests that disrupted deep sleep might be a key factor in the memory decline seen in Alzheimer's.
That's really scary. It makes getting enough sleep, especially deep sleep, seem even more crucial for protecting our brains as we age. But let's be honest, getting enough sleep in today's world can feel impossible.
Yeah.
There's so many things that disrupt our sleep.
Absolutely. And Walker tackles this head-on in Chapter 13, discussing what he calls the modern sleep saboteurs.
So what are the biggest culprits? What's keeping us from getting the sleep we need?
Well, 3 of the most common sleep disruptors are blue light from electronic devices, alcohol, and alarm clocks.
Let's start with blue light. We already touched on how it suppresses melatonin production. But how bad is it really?
It's worse than you might think. As Walker explains, even dim light in the evening can delay melatonin release, and the blue light emitted from our phones, tablets, and computers is particularly potent at disrupting our sleep.
So no more scrolling through social media in bed. What about alcohol? I've always heard that a nightcap can help you sleep.
That's a myth, unfortunately. While alcohol might initially make you feel drowsy, it actually disrupts the quality of your sleep, particularly REM sleep.
So even if I fall asleep quickly after a few drinks, I'm still not getting the restorative benefits of REM sleep.
That's right. And then there's the dreaded alarm clock, which abruptly jolts us awake, often from the depths of deep sleep.
I hate that feeling. It's like being ripped out of a peaceful dream and thrown into the harsh reality of morning. Is there any way around it?
Walker offers some practical tips in Chapter 16 and the appendix for minimizing the impact of these sleep disruptors.
Okay, give us the good stuff. What can we do to combat these sleep saboteurs?
Yeah, it really is worse than you might think. Even dim light in the evening can delay melatonin release, and the blue light from our phones and tablets and computers is particularly potent.
So no scrolling through social media in bed?
Right. Walker offers some practical tips in Chapter 16 and the appendix for minimizing the impact of these sleep disruptors.
Okay, so give us the good stuff. What can we do to combat these sleep saboteurs?
When it comes to blue light, the key is to dim the lights and avoid screens in the hours leading up to bed. Create a relaxing bedtime routine that signals to your brain that it's time to wind down.
So put away the phone and pick up a book instead.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And as for alcohol, Walker advises avoiding it, especially in the evening, to allow your brain to cycle through all the stages of sleep, including REM uninterrupted.
Got it. No more nightcaps. What about those jarring alarm clocks?
Walker suggests trying to wake up more gradually. You can use a gentler alarm sound or a light-based alarm clock that simulates sunrise.
I've heard of those.
Yeah?
Okay, so those are all really good tips for individuals. But it's not just about individual choices, right?
Right.
What about like the role society plays in our sleep?
Yeah.
Walker argues that we have a societal problem
Yeah.
when it comes to sleep.
Yeah, he does. He says there's this pervasive idea that sleep is for the weak, that to be successful, you need to be burning the candle at both ends.
It's like we wear our sleep deprivation as a badge of honor. It's like, look how busy and important I am. I don't even have time for sleep. But as we've seen, that kind of thinking is so counterproductive, and Walker really lays out the cost of that kind of thinking in Chapter 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a steep cost, right? Impacting everything from our health and well-being to our productivity and decision-making.
Yeah.
So where do we see this playing out most prominently?
Well, one of the most prominent places is in the corporate world, where people are often expected to work late into the night, sacrificing sleep in the name of productivity.
Yeah, like it's almost like a competition to see who can get by on the least amount of sleep.
Right.
Which is crazy when you think about all the negative consequences.
Yeah.
And it's not just the corporate world. Teenagers are forced to wake up at the crack of dawn for school, even though their biology is naturally geared towards later sleep-wake cycles.
Yeah. Teenagers need a lot more sleep than they're getting.
Definitely. And then there's the healthcare industry where the consequences of sleep deprivation can be truly life-altering. Walker goes into detail in Chapter 16 about the dangers of sleep deprivation, among doctors and nurses.
Yep.
A sleep-deprived doctor is a dangerous doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about their own health and well-being. It's about the safety of their patients.
Exactly. Studies have shown that sleep-deprived doctors are more likely to make medical errors,
It's true.
which can have devastating consequences.
Yeah, it's a sobering reminder that we need to move away from this culture of sleep deprivation and start prioritizing sleep as a society.
It's true.
But how do we do that? Where do we even begin?
Walker offers some glimmers of hope. He highlights companies like Google and NASA
Okay.
that are starting to recognize the importance of sleep and taking steps to create more sleep-friendly environments.
It's encouraging to see those kinds of shifts happening,
Yeah.
especially in, high-performing organizations. What are they doing specifically?
Well, Google, for example, has installed nap pods in their offices, recognizing that even a short nap can boost employee productivity and creativity. And NASA has been studying sleep for decades, trying to understand how to optimize sleep for astronauts in space.
That makes sense. Their cognitive performance and their overall well-being depends on getting adequate sleep.
Exactly. And those lessons that they're learning in space can be applied right here on Earth.
That's cool. So it's not just about like big organizations implementing sleep-friendly policies. It's about each of us taking responsibility for our own sleep
Absolutely.
and advocating for change on a bigger scale.
Yeah, we need to start prioritizing our own sleep-setting boundaries around work and technology and advocating for later school start times for teenagers.
Yeah, we need to stop glorifying sleep deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stop wearing it as a badge of honor and start recognizing it for what it is. It's a detriment to our health, our well-being, our ability to, function at our best.
Yeah, we need to change the narrative around sleep. Instead of bragging about how little sleep we get, we should be celebrating sleep as a superpower.
Exactly.
It's about seeing sleep as an investment in ourselves, not a sign of laziness or weakness.
I love that. And, we also need to be mindful of those modern sleep saboteurs that we discussed earlier. Putting away our devices, dimming the lights, creating those relaxing bedtime routines can go a long way
Absolutely.
in improving our sleep quality. And then we need to advocate for change on a larger scale.
Yes.
Pushing for later school start times, encouraging workplaces to adopt more sleep-friendly policies, and just talking more openly about the importance of sleep can all help shift the cultural tide.
It's true.
It's about creating a world where sleep is valued and prioritized, not just for individual well-being, but for the betterment of society as a whole.
I love that.
Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the profound impact that sleep has on every aspect of our lives. It's packed with, fascinating insights, groundbreaking research, practical tips. It might just change the way you think about sleep forever.
I agree. It's a real eye-opener.
Well, there you have it. Our deep dive into the fascinating world of sleep. We've explored the science, the benefits, the challenges, the societal implications. But the most important takeaway is sleep is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's essential for our health, our happiness, our productivity, our overall well-being. So let's make a commitment to prioritize sleep both in our own lives and in the world around us.
Sweet dreams, everyone.